event of the year, the Blackpool Film Collectors Convention was held once again from Friday the 15th to Sunday the 17th of November 2024 at the Grand Hotel in Blackpool. As usual, it all started with the Friday feature. And brought his brand new, Italian-made and quite portable 35mm projector to the convention. This year's movie was The Fugitive on 35mm, and the print was excellent.
I'm really tired. I'd like to go home now.
The convention is a great place to catch up with old friends, and the room was buzzing before the Saturday film show.
Now we're really rolling. In 1922, I was #1 box office in the world. And fame and the adoration that the public bestowed on me was rather frightening.
Adrian was leading us through the evening as usual and could share with us that there were many people present that evening.
And the reason that's worth celebrating is it's the highest number in the post-Duran era, so I'm confident that the biggest number we've had since the days of Duran organising this convention, which ended in 2010. So many thanks for coming along and helping us achieve that new record.
Since last year's dinner, Peter Wilson and Bob Nichols, two very central figures at Blackpool, very sadly had passed away. Peter's daughter and two of Bob's friends, Paul Barker and David Locke, said a few words.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has now come for the two tributes that I referred to earlier, and I'm delighted that firstly, in remembering Peter Wilson, we've been joined by Peter's daughter Barbara and her family tonight, so I will now hand over to Barbara.
My dad absolutely loved coming here every year, and he would count down throughout the year to Blackpool. So I've just got a few bits to say. He was a film lover, a film collector and a filmmaker. He was a central figure in the Edinburgh Film and Cine Society. He had a cinema room in the house to which to watch his Super 8 and his 16mm films. They often enjoyed film screenings at each other's homes, and Peter hosted the last one after he just returned from Blackpool last year. My dad was absolutely buzzing after he came back from Blackpool last year. So I would say that my dad was quite a shy guy, really, a shy man, and he normally preferred the company of small groups, but when he came here, I think he was in his element. It was very much his sort of thing.
It's now time for a toast. If I could ask you please to stand and raise a glass. To Peter Wilson. Now please be seated, because we are now going to have some words from two gentlemen who were good friends of Bob Nichols. So it's Paul Barker and David Locke.
Right, good evening ladies and gents. I'd just like to say some words about Robert. I call him Robert, and many of you know him as Bob, or Uncle Bob. But to me he was always Robert.
So Bob's involvement with film, I know him as Bob, always have done, and obviously a lot of you may know him as Uncle Bob. That's what he's generally known as in his articles he does for projections. But I've always known him as Bob. As most of you know, he would talk to anybody. He had a very easygoing nature, never had a bad word to say about anybody, and got on with everybody and would just talk to anybody who would talk with him. He was quite happy. He would drive from Birmingham down into Kent to Bill Parsons to take a projector for Phil Sheard or anybody else that needed repairing. He'd go all over the place to meet people and be involved in the hobby. Hopefully Bob now is in wherever you go when you pass away, with his old friends Derek Simmons, Maurice Andrews, Barry Littlechild, Tony Hutchinson, Peter Wilson, watching the big film show in the sky. That's what I like to think anyway. So if you'd all like to stand and raise your glasses, and raise a glass to Bob Nichols, Uncle Bob. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Question 3. The song Bright Eyes was a big UK hit for Art Garfunkel. Which 1978 film was it written for? Question 11. Name the renowned Italian director and screenwriter whose films included La Strada, La Dolce Vita, and 8 1/2. Todd Higginson, multiple brain of Blackpool, Eddie Goodwin, Cliff Perriam, and Mark Williams. So I would ask those 5 gentlemen to come and form a line in front of the table, please, and we will go into sudden death. What was the only Western starring John Wayne to be shot in 3D? Mark Williams.
You want it there? Hondo.
Correct. At the top, 850479, 853.
And if you know what I was thinking, you wouldn't be ashamed of yourself. I'm excited. But then the truth caught fire.
Sunday means Filmfare Day, and it all starts with a long line led by Dominic and Dell. Never seen as much film as this year. The organizers even had to add a second dealer room, and the film fair was very well attended. Ged Jones, former director at Duran, made an announcement that day.
As many of you may remember, my group on Facebook was Duran Vaults, which disappeared
off Facebook in January of this year. I contacted Facebook many times and asked them to try and retrieve the 5.5 years of work I'd put into it, but never even had a response from Facebook, never. So I felt reluctant to put all that work back into a second Facebook page and lose it again, and had an offer from this young man here, Mr. Morg, of a website. So launched today, now, is the duranvaults.uk website.
Brilliant.
It's up and running now.
This year's Q&A guest was Mark Williams, and he and Adrian talked about his new book, Bootlace Cinema.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third in the new series of Q&As happening at the Blackpool Film Collectors Convention. Delighted that Mark Williams, author of the recently published Bootlace Cinema, collecting horror, science fiction and exploitation movies on Super 8, is with us today. I know it's far from his first visit to Blackpool, so I'm sure he feels very much at home here.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming.
But to focus on today's matter in hand, we will talk about Mark's recently published book, but I think it's fitting to go a little bit into Mark's association with 8mm, because when you were growing up in Croydon, which is also my hometown, I believe it would be true to say that in your family watching 8mm was quite a normal thing to do.
Oh yeah, it was. You know, as I say in the book, it was like a way of life, really. Certainly in the boom time, I think sort of 78, 79, maybe 80. You know, we'd all get together on a Christmas show. It was funny enough. It was Futtock's End was my father's favourite, my late father's, which they showed a clip the other night, and we had the full length, the 2x400 foot version, which got worn out. I mean, the stripe, I've never known a copy like it, but it actually got worn out and the stripe started to come off. So I think that got traded in very rapidly, I think, you know, for a bargain price or something. But yeah, we, you know, and I had a cinema. I was very lucky, you know, my dad was quite well off, and he built me a custom-made cinema up in one of the big bedrooms, and I had a projection box, really lucky. And yeah.
It's true to say then that the experiences you were having watching film and collecting film would have been really the basis of what caused you later to want to put together a book along the lines that you have.
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah. You know, that certainly planted the seeds, and it's taken, you know, one of these things, it's taken 10 years to get this book out, and we decided to self-publish in the end. We got caught in a publishing deal in the States. They didn't like the book, so and I think they thought it was too niche. But you know, we've sold over 300 now, which is good. Some people have, you know, it's always been very positive. So yeah, it's really good.
I know it went through various stages in terms of trying to come up with a format that would maximise the chances of it being published. But what you have now, is that fairly close to the original idea you had for it?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, all the, you know, because what I wanted to do, and it was too expensive, I wanted to do a book just with lovely glossy covers, you know, like 400 foot size, so I could just showcase each one. But it, you know, in publishing terms, it would cost a fortune to do. And then I thought, hold on a second, I do, you know, just give people a taste or an illustration, and do a little bit of, just done a little, you know, a few comments on there, a little bit about the films and things, and that's what we ended up with, really. So it didn't really change, but I put a lot of personal stuff in about, you know, Super 8 mania, a bit my collecting, you know, back in the day, and Lee contributed a part as well, you know, he talks about his, was it Cinema of Our Time as well, doesn't he, on there? So.
Yeah.
Lee Mannering, so yeah, it was good. Yeah, I was really pleased how it turned out.
And you have a certain amount of balance.
25 to go.
Yeah, get the second one brought out.
I will. Yeah, I'll have to take another 10 years. There you go, guys. Keep on projecting. Did I spill that? Yeah, I did. Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Sunday is also the auction day with another chance of making a bargain.
Good condition, slight colour fade, 1975 with Paul Newman. This is lot number 174. The Drowning Pool. We'll start, shall we give it a go at... Who'll give me 20 quid for this? The Drowning Pool, £20, looking at £20. No offers at £20. How about a tenner? I've got £10. 12, sir? £12. You want to go 14? £14 here, looking for 16. Anybody got 16? £16 here, I've got £16. Any more? £16 then. I'm going to sell it at £16. 18. Who says 18? What? £18 here. 18. Oh, sorry, I want another £2. I'm not going to be able to sell it at this one. I'll do it. You'll do it £20, will you? Yeah. £20? No. Anybody else? No? Nobody else wants 22? £20 then. Thank you very much. What 177 then? 1 foot in the hill.
One foot in hell.
In hell. It's the elastic band who was in there. 1 foot in hell. Colour fade, runs well. We've got Alan Ladd. Can I say a tenner to start? £10. Anybody got £10? £8 to start. Anybody got £8? £8 here. Somebody give me a tenner. £8 here. £10 now. I've got £10. Do you want 12? Anybody? £12. £12 I've got £12. Nobody on this side wants it. £12. Are we looking at £12? I can sell it at £12. So do you want 14? £14. You know, he says, he shakes his head, no, not enough. So £14. We'll sell it at £14 if you want to watch. Thank you.
The group called Film is Fabulous was present, both at the dealer room and with an event. They talked about their work but also showed a film that was thought lost but had reappeared in the public through their work.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to move on, following your fantastic auction and all those bargains you've secured, move on to another session featuring myself, Justin Smith, Professor of Cinema and Television History at De Montfort University, and my very good associate, whom will be very well known to many of you as a film collector and as a devotee of saving vulnerable film, John Franklin. And we're just going to spend a few minutes with you this afternoon, updating you on what we've been doing with Film is Fabulous, and then finish by showing you an item of lost television which we've recovered in the course of our recent work. So it was in summer of 2023 that John first approached me in Leicester and asked me whether De Montfort University would be interested in supporting a screening event at our independent cinema, the Phoenix Cinema and Arts Centre in Leicester, with whom we work very closely. And I said, well, tell me more. What do you want to do? And he was quite plain in saying, well, I'm really concerned that film collections held in private hands are being lost. They're being lost because, sadly, we've lost a number of dear friends and colleagues in our community. And often when that happens, families themselves are at a loss as to know what to do with films, the film collections their loved ones have amassed over many years. And you will recognise that and you will understand that, being film collectors. And John said, I want to do something about this. So John, it's been a busy year. where have we got to? What are the main developments as you see it from that original idea that you had in 2023?
That's a very good question. Okay, well, first of all, it wasn't just my idea, so I do think it's important to say that there were a number of people involved in the sort of genesis stage. And I'll go back to the actual circumstances very quickly that led to the event at the Phoenix, which was I was being contacted with people in my area, because I live in Leicester, right in the middle of the country, particularly in the period around and just after COVID, where I'd get a call, hi, it's such and such, Dad's died, what should we do with his films? And of course, there was nothing, there was no structure in any way to try and organize how you should go in and try to manage those films, help the family to manage the films, because of course in the main, the family's priority was settle the estate, clear the property, sell the house, and then move on with their lives. And very often that was complicated because a lot of the elderly collectors didn't actually have, well, first of all, they didn't have lists of their films. It was very disparate. And many of them didn't actually even have wills. So there was no instruction as to what should happen with the estate. And I ended up getting involved in quite a number of different situations, including people who were famed film directors. And I've made films in the 60s and 70s. Won't mention their names, but their films literally ended up in the skip outside the house. So I think we realized that if something was going to be done to stop these films being lost, we as volunteers would have to do something. And really that's been the sort of thing that's happened as the main thrust since the event last year. The fact of the matter is, I don't think we really knew exactly what needed to be done, because of course every set of circumstances, like every film collection, is different. Whether it's an individual living at home that has no family, that's too unwell or going into a care home, whether it's someone who's passed away with 10,000 films and it's just an overwhelming number, or whether it's someone that's come from a professional background that has a small selection of films that there's just a need to do some basic listing and cataloguing of, which we can then help the individual or the family with. So fundamentally, what we wanted to do was to find out what was the right path forward, and we instigated a pilot scheme.
What's happened to the films that we've taken in thus far?
Well, a multitude of things have happened to the films, as one would expect. First of all, they haven't ended up in a skip, and they haven't ended up being lost to the film collecting community, which is the number one priority. We've been able to bring them into a controlled environment, and we've been able to list and catalogue the films, identifying any rare or missing items. As an example, and I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning his name, but John Armour in his collection had a nitrate film print which dated from 1919 called Sealed Hearts, which was made by David Selznick. That is the only copy of a very important film in the world, which we were able, through our connections, to now get back to the George Eastman Museum in New York, Rochester, New York. It's being preserved. It will be scanned and will be screened to an audience. So that is, I mean, for me, one of the most fantastic things to have happened within a relatively short period of time.